signpost language of comparison. See, where there are questions, and there are number of questions in your part 3, almost all the questions where you can bring in comparison. And comparison will always help you to increase your length of the answer. Suppose in terms of just this answer, in this question, do people in a country like to give flowers? If you just keep talking about flowers itself as one topic, then you might run out of ideas as to what do I say? Okay, so people in my country like to give flowers because they do this, because they do that. That's it, right? Now, if you want to add more on to this, more towards the answer, then you can bring in a comparison. And what is a comparison of just gifting flowers? Gifting any other material, fine, or gifting money, anything. So there is a comparison. When comparison comes, we are going to use such words. These are signpost. This is known as signpost language. So people in my country prefer to give flowers for such occasions. Like, so you can start. On the one hand, people prefer to give flowers on occasions such as weddings or any other occasion. You can say when somebody on birthdays, or what are the other occasions that they give flowers, or any other occasions, fine. But on the other hand, they also prefer gifting something else along with it. So just flowers are not enough nowadays. People want to show that they care about the person with gifting them money along with the flowers or anything, fine. So you're going to add a comparison. And what else where you can use comparatively? So people in my country prefer gifting money in comparison to flowers, right? So anywhere you want to use two ideas, or you have two ideas, or you have a comparison, you're going to use these words. For instance, we have already used however. And similarly means something that you are giving 50% weightage to your flowers, and similarly you're giving 50% weightage to the other idea also. People in my country prefer gifting flowers to their relatives on the occasion when they want them, especially when somebody is not feeling well. Similarly, they also gift money on occasions when they visit somebody at their place or anything. Fine. And in a similar way, again, you give this, both of this means the same thing. In fact, all of them means what, like the comparison way, but this is especially for 50-50, where you're giving equal weightage to both of them. Now, where you do not want to answer that, no, people, I don't think so people prefer gifting flowers anymore, because nowadays one tend to receive money or receive something that is made, like handmade stuff or anything, then you're going to like totally go on the other hand. But if you want to use comparison language, then you're going to use such words. Now, another thing, while you're answering, fine, you have to, on your own end, this won't happen every time, but you have to create situations and then use these words. So anytime you're going to give an idea, or anytime you're going to explain the idea, or suppose you're giving examples, you can use, for instance, right? If you're explaining, people in my country prefer dogs over cats. Like, for instance, I went to this particular place, and I saw that there was a survey going on regarding this, and 70% of the people preferred dogs as pets. That's it. So you're going to give examples in terms of this, or even if you're explaining the idea itself. Once you've given the answer, yes, this happens most of the time. For instance, there was something that happened this way, and then explain the answer, or that will be your idea and an example together. Fine. So you're going to, this is something that you will have to practice, and you will have to like get into the zone of using these words again and again. So for instance, and for example is something that you should be like, that should be on your tips, that I am going to include this in every answer. Not the same way that you are including, like do not start every answer with just one way. Try bringing a variation, but 70% of the time you are going to use such words in your answers, in even in your passage, like part 1, part 2, or part 3. Anywhere you can find a way, anywhere you think that the situation you can create an answer using these words, you will do that. Fine. Now when you're starting the answer itself, so this is something that you can start the answer with. Well, I think people do prefer, or people do not prefer. So this is one way, but do not be very casual when you're using this specifically. Well, I think. Fine. So you're not talking to a friend, you're talking to an examiner. So be sure, so make sure that you're not using it in a very casual way or in a very friendly way. So, well, I think that people prefer doing this instead of that. Fine. Okay, so one way of dealing this is also something. So these, like in our daily like communication, like in our daily communication process, we do not use such words. Like on one way of dealing this is used mostly in formal languages or formal emails or something like that. Fine. So try making out sentences. Try using these sentences once you are communicating with a friend in specifically in English language, right? And on the on the other hand, some people believe that we've already discussed this one, that on the one hand people do this, but on the other hand they prefer doing this also.